Alright, so we just got some shocking updates ahead of the start of NFL free agency, as the Eagles have recently been predicted to make some very surprising moves that'll really shake up the roster. Now that includes cutting one All-Pro who's coming off a rather disappointing year, and also bringing in an absolute star on defense. And that star is cornerback Sneed, as the rumors linking him to Philly have only heated up over the past few days. Plus on top of that, one source also recently gave us a massive update on the Haason Reddick situation, so what's the latest on that? And also, what are some of the other surprising moves that the Eagles could make in free agency? We're going to talk about all that and more news in this video today, and we won't waste any time. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so let's start off with some breaking news from this past weekend, as Jeremy Fowler reported that former Eagles defensive coordinator Sean Desai was hired by the Rams and will serve in a senior defensive role. So congrats to him, I guess, and I hope he does do well in his new position. I just am a bit confused as to why he keeps getting new jobs at this point, considering that both his one-year stints as NFL defensive coordinators both ended in failures and him being fired, but hey, maybe he's just not that good in that role, and he's valuable in other ways. I mean, I don't know. I just know that during his stint with the Eagles, his scheme was way too soft, his defense couldn't stop anything, and he just didn't utilize his players correctly. And that includes safety Kevin Byard, who of course was traded to the Eagles mid-season, but despite all the excitement surrounding that trade, it just didn't really pan out. And whether we want to say that's because Byard at age 30 is washed, or because it was just a really big adjustment for him to make after playing with Tennessee for 7.5 years, or because of Desai and Matt Patricia's weak scheme and play calling, or just a combination of all those things, flat out, he just did not perform well enough or live up to the hype that trade caused. And now fast forward to this offseason, and it seems like the Eagles could actually do something pretty drastic involving Byard that would yield them a lot more flexibility as they enter free agency, and that's simply just to cut Byard loose, to release him from the team. I mean, there's been a lot of fan speculation on that, including on behalf of myself, because of the fact that 1, Byard did really underperform this year, and 2, because it would clear a ton of cap space. It would give the Eagles about $13 million more to use this offseason. And now in addition to all the fan speculation surrounding that, we have the media feeding into it as well, with ESPN listing cutting Kevin Byard and replacing him with a younger name at safety as the bold move that the Eagles should make this offseason, as writer Aaron Schatz wrote, quote, "Byard was an interesting midseason addition for the Eagles, but ultimately wasn't much help as Philadelphia crumbled down the stretch. He's a good player, but he also can be used to get the Eagles some salary cap space. Cutting Byard would save the Eagles $13 million on the cap with only $1.4 million in dead money this year." And I would completely agree with this. I really don't think that Byard has nothing left to give, and maybe under a new defensive coordinator and with a whole offseason with the team, I think he could probably perform a lot better than he did this past year, but just cutting him would probably be the smart thing to do, because it saves you $13 million now with barely having any dead money. Plus, Byard is also on the older side, and there's plenty of younger options at safety out there in free agency that the Eagles could very realistically go after with that new money. Like maybe you would look at a guy like Antoine Winfield or an Xavier McKinney. They would probably produce at a higher level than Byard, and again, they're much younger, so I think that cutting Byard is not only the right move, but it seems pretty likely at this point. And let's face it, the more cap space that the Eagles have, the better, because they really need to maybe not rebuild, but reshape this roster a little bit to bounce back from this past year. But one of the big questions as we're set to enter free agency is what's going on with Jason Kelce. As if he does come back, the Eagles are gonna have to set aside some money to pay him, so we gotta know what's going on with that. And Kelce, very generously, recently offered yet another update, this time on Dana Carvey and David Spade's podcast, as he said this.
What do you think? Are you going to be in the booth? You're going to go in movies maybe? Or you're going to go back and play for the Eagles? You have 10 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
We need a trend.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
think,
okay. That's a good answer.
That's what I'm trying to figure it out right now. There's right now exploring different opportunities if I end up retiring. Still working out and staying in shape if I end up playing again.
So you heard him there. He's still taking time to decide. He's not quite sure what he wants to do yet. He is still working out, which that's definitely a good sign, because it shows that the option of coming back to play is definitely still in play, so only time will tell. We obviously all hope that he comes back, but if he doesn't, as much as that'll suck and be a massive, massive blow, I mean, I cannot overstate that, it'll at least then, I guess, be a bit more cap space to work with that doesn't have to be put towards him and can help retool the rest of the roster and allocate that money elsewhere. And one of the main priorities, if not the main priority, is going to be extending DeVonta Smith. Now, Smitty's 5th-year option price tag was recently reported, coming in at around $15.5 million, and that would surely be a bargain just considering the level that Smitty has played at during his 3 years with the Birds. However, despite that, it would still be best to just not mess around and to wrap him up for the long term as soon as possible. I mean, the longer the Eagles wait to do this, the higher DeVonta's value is going to be, and with the salary cap going up an unprecedented $30 million recently, the decision to extend Smitty should become even easier for the Birds. And again, they just need to do it as soon as possible. Now, in addition to that, one other way that the increased salary cap helps the Birds is that it makes it much more likely that they can bring back Haason Reddick on a new extension, as of course a couple weeks back the Eagles gave Reddick permission to seek a trade, which was more about allowing him to gauge his market on a new extension rather than a reflection of Reddick being upset with the Eagles organization in any way, as Reddick made it clear that he wants to stay in Philly, he just wants a new contract extension that pays him what he deserves, and like I said, that new bump in the salary cap may give the Eagles the space to do that. But now the question becomes, what exactly would a new Reddick extension look like? Well, Jake Rabadia, the Liberty Line, recently reported on his Twitter page that his understanding is that the Eagles have made it clear that they're willing to give Reddick an extension that pays him around $20 to $22 million per year. Reddick's camp, however, is still seeking a 3-year deal that'll pay him $25 million annually. Now, assuming that Rabadia is a reliable source here, it is very, very interesting, and I do think that it also makes a lot of sense. It goes along with the idea that Reddick doesn't want to leave, but he also wants to get the type of money that he thinks he deserves, hence why he's exploring other opportunities and gauging the market. Regardless, I hope we find a way to extend Reddick. He's a fantastic player, obviously, and extending him would also clear $11 million more in cap space, giving the Eagles a little bit more flexibility to make other moves this offseason specifically, and maybe some of that space could be used to bring in a guy who a lot of people have speculated could be on his way to Philly, and that's Chiefs cornerback Sneed. And that speculation has only heated up in recent days, with Sneed going on Instagram and posting this photo of him with his arms out like wings, and with a caption of just the eagle emoji. Now, full disclosure, this got me and many other Eagles fans fired up initially, but upon further review, it looks like Sneed just uses that emoji a lot, and it's in reference to his nickname, the War Eagle. But regardless, DeVonta Smith still liked the post, so I'm gonna hold out hope. Plus, on top of that, more fuel was added to the Sneed to Philly fire with an article written by Pro Football Network that listed 3 moves that the Eagles should make in free agency, with signing Sneed being the first thing on that list. As writer John Fields said, quote, "The Eagles took Healy Ringo in the 2023 draft and could again look to the draft for cornerback help this year, but signing a proven free agent like Sneed would certainly go a long way to shoring up the position. He had 78 tackles, 60 solo, 14 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions last year, and is ranked as PFN's second best available cornerback, with many rumors connecting him to the Eagles. Sneed could certainly come with a sizable price tag, but it might be a cost Philadelphia is willing to pay to improve one of its most glaring weaknesses." Now, I want to emphasize that this article is in no way a report, it is just speculation, but you must admit that with all the speculation already out there surrounding this potential move, this certainly seems like something to keep your eye on, because everybody seems to think that Sneed to Philly would be a great fit, and I'm one of them. I mean, to get a star cornerback at 26 years old for the price of around probably $16 million per year, with the new amount of cap space that the Eagles have, that all sounds pretty good to me. Now, I will say, signing a corner that leads the league in PI penalties is a bit scary, but the other side to that is a very aggressive corner. I mean, if you watch him, he's just a more physical cornerback that kind of has that dog mentality that we all love in Philly, and he's given opposing receivers trouble for years now while being a part of back-to-back Super Bowl defenses. So comment down below, what are your thoughts on the Eagles potentially signing Sneed? Now, going back to the rest of that article, the next move that it mentions is signing another Chiefs defender in linebacker Willie Gay. Now, the article says, quote, "Bringing in a dependable veteran in Willie Gay could certainly help the Eagles shore up their linebacking core. He's not quite a star at the position, but he went for 58 tackles, 44 solo, 4 tackles for loss, 4 pass breakups, 3 fumble recoveries, and 1 interception a season ago, ranking as PFN's 5th best available linebacker." Now, if the Eagles could sign Gay for cheap, I wouldn't be totally against it, and I'd give it a chance, but I've made it also clear in previous videos that I think it's time that we try to get a real difference maker at this position if we can, and I just think that there are probably some better options out there at linebacker in free agency. But hey, I could see it happening, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And then the final thing that this article lists is something that if you've been watching this channel, you know that I want the Eagles to do, and that is to bring back DeAndre Swift. As they wrote, quote, "A deep running back market could lower Swift's asking price a bit. He ranks as PFN's 6th best available running back and potentially make him a reasonable candidate to return for the Eagles as a known quantity they could depend on at that spot. The franchise could certainly address the position in the draft, but bringing back Swift at the right price tag seems like a logical move." Now look, I know a lot has been made about the fact that the Eagles don't tend to pay running backs a second contract and the running back position is dying and this and that, but at the end of the day, we're talking about right now. Swift is a baller, he was a difference maker last year, and he had a career season while not even being fully correctly used. I mean, he still has another level that he can reach very clearly. He's also from Philly, he loves it here, and he may not be too expensive to bring back, maybe at around $6 million, $7 million per season. Plus, you have to take into account that, again, the salary cap did just go up $30 million more dollars. Plus, the draft also isn't particularly strong in terms of the running back class, so if you can afford to do it, I say bringing Swift back is a great move. Now, I don't know how likely it is that that happens. I think it's certainly more likely now, again, that the salary cap has been raised, so it's going to be interesting to watch, and so is the NFL Combine, which starts later this week, and I'm sure some things will come out of that, so I'm going to be covering that on this channel, and if you don't want to miss any of that or just any other Eagles coverage coming throughout the rest of this entire offseason, make sure you subscribe, and also, really importantly, turn on those notifications. Also, drop a like down below on this video if you did enjoy it and want to show some support, and leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And if you want to watch a video going over AJ Brown's call into WIP, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.